everyone, Don here with the next update on the War Corsair project. Sorry I wasn't able to get it out this past weekend, but the weather was a little iffy this weekend. I was hoping to get the plane outside yesterday, put the wings on it, and maybe do another taxi test in the park across the street. But the weather yesterday was calling for rain, and this past few days we've had all these poplar trees out here had just covered everything in white poplar seeds. So if I was to pull the airplane out, have to roll around on the ground, put these wings on, I'd have been covered in poplar seed, and I've been waiting for this rain to come. Well, it finally came. Plus yesterday they were calling for rain all day, so I didn't want to drag it outside and then get it together and start raining on me. So I put it off until it got too late, and the rain finally did come about mid-afternoon, and it rained for at least 20 hours straight. So today it finally stopped raining, but at least all the poplar seeds have been washed away or packed down into the ground. So what I did manage to get done this weekend was, I mentioned I had to do a little bit of a paint touch-up, so I mixed up some dark blue and touched up a little. I had scrape marks on here from putting the thing away last fall into the shed. One of the other little things I had, these screws were still shiny stainless, so I dabbed paint on there, touched up some little spots here, and then the main reason for mixing up the paint was right here, this fuel door, or not fuel door, excuse me, it's my oil fill and oil check door. There's the filler spouts under there, and then the dipsticks in there. So I mashed this all off, spray painted that, and then came back and touched up the rivets with a brush. so I had to pull the cowling off to do some other work. But I went around, I just touched up a bunch of little spots with the dark blue paint. And then the other thing I did do was I finally got the panels for under the wings done. You see they're done in the intermediate blue. So now these are ready to go on the airplane after the wings are installed. So that part's finally done. And this is epoxy. This is the actual light blue that's on the airplane. You know, matches the up there. So, and then after last week's video, I'd mentioned when I was taxiing around here that there was the brakes were really hard. You know, they work, but you got to really press on them hard. So a couple people had mentioned Matco brakes had a fixture where they'd set up a test thing where they showed the if you have the wrong geometry on your brake pedals, if you don't have enough brake pedal what do you want to call it, multiplication, I guess. The geometry, what the Matco says is you want to have the pedals, you want the pedal to move 2.5 times the distance that the arm pushes down on the master cylinder. So that got me curious. So I looked inside the plane. Oh, come on. This thing does get snug on there. There we go. I was looking up in there and I was like, there's no way I'm going to get in there to get the pedals off. The only real way to work on the pedals is to pull the fuel tank, and I truly do hate doing that too, because it is a far reach to get back up in there to get to these turnbuckles. The front one's not a problem, the back one's a problem, but I do have a box, a little step box that I put here, and when I stand on it I can stretch in there just far enough to get to the clips, the hairpin clips I had with the clevis pins and the turnbuckles to undo the tank. So to keep from disconnecting the fuel lines, unplugged the wiring for the sending unit and the fuel pumps, and I was able to pull the tank off and push it way back off to the side, which allowed me to get in. Now my main thing was trying to find out what the ratio on these pedals was. It turns out these brake pedals I bought, rudder pedals, are called ACS, as the company that makes them, and they're kind of copied after a Cessna style, but the only difference with the Cessna style is the arm that pushes down on the brake master cylinder is down more towards the bottom of where the pivot point on the pedal is. It's lower, and these aftermarket ones, that point is much higher. I mean, you're talking over 2 inches, 2.5 inches higher. So the pedal geometry, instead of looking like this, you know, it was looking like this. You know, your hinge point would be down here at the tip of my finger, and then the same way the hinge point would be clear back here where my thumb knuckle is. So the original configuration is like this, and you want this high spot to be 2.5 times more than this one here. So if you can picture that. But these pedals are like this, and they kind of roll over. So the ratio of the pedal. So what I ended up doing is I took an old piece of particle board here, drilled a 3/8 inch hole and put this piece of tubing in there, slid the brake pedal down on there. Now I made the brake pedal, moved it back till it was flush here with the face of the pedal. So from here to here it's like 4 point some inches. And so what I did is I came across and I drew a 2-inch line. So if you was to push the pedal 2 inches. Okay, then the point for the pedal attachment is up here. I believe that was the location. And then as I move this 2 inches this way, this one moved down to here, and you can see that worked out to, it's probably upside down, but it was 1 3/16 of an inch. So if you do the math of 2 inches, 1 3/16, it works out to a ratio of only like 1.68 to 1, where they recommend 2.5 to 1. So in order to get to 2.5 to 1, I moved back the bolt hole 3/4 of an inch and then redid it. I'm trying to remember where the pedal. This is the actual end point where I started from here to here. But anyway, when I moved it back 3/4 of an inch, I did some measuring. I needed to get to about 800 thousandths of a stroke. So the hole starts up here. Yeah, this is the hole for that. And then when it pushes down into here. I can't remember. I got so many lines drawn on here, but either way, 800 thousandths is the distance I needed to get to. If you can see that little mark there. I can't remember which marks are which, but it was pretty long. But anyway, going sweeping, I think this is the 800 thousandths from here to here. And that's what I needed. When I moved 2 inches at the top of the pedal, the very, very top of the pedal, 2 inches brings me to here. And then the new hole moves 800 thousandths. I think the other one was clear out in here that came down to this far. Because I didn't bother marking a hole. But anyway, this was 1 3. I needed to only move 800 thousandths to 2 inches, which gives you 2.5 to 1. So I ended up just re-drilling a new hole, and I only had to come back 3/4 of an inch. So I think it was from here to here. Here to here was the original. And then this is the new one, because I moved back 3/4 of an inch, and it come down to this line here for 800 thousandths. So then I put the pedal back in there, and it's a slight improvement. But the major problem with the pedals were the master cylinders. I bought these at Oshkosh at what they call the fly market instead of a flea market. The master cylinders were out of a Beechcraft. I don't know which model it was, but it turns out they ended up having a 1-inch bore in the master cylinders. Now, 1-inch bore, I think, oh, that's not too big. Well, the bores on these Mustangs are 1 inch, and you're working 4 tires with drum brakes and disc brakes in the front. So that's way too much. And looking into Matco Cylinders, their cylinders are only 5/8 inch bore. So I need to pick up a set of those cylinders. One of the drawbacks with Matco Cylinders is they're a little short from the attach bolt on the bottom of the cylinder where it pivots to the fork on the top that hooks to the pedal. It's almost 1 inch shorter than what I need. So I got to make up that inch somewhere somehow. Either a longer fork, because it comes with a fork. These cylinders are like $155 a piece, so you're looking well over $350. With shipping and everything, you're going to be over $350 for a pair of cylinders. So I didn't buy them yet. I just don't have the extra cash. But the brakes are back together. They'll work. They should work a little better than they did before, but it's still going to take some force. But they're easy enough to change out. I think the only other drawback is these master cylinders have 1/4 inch pipe fittings, and the new ones are only 1/8 inch pipe, so I would need 4 new fittings. 2 of them are little hose barbs that hook up to the external reservoir, and then the other two would be a 90 degree that goes to a -4 AN line. So that's what the brake lines are. They're stainless fitting. I think these are automotive 45 degree, not 37. So that's where I'm at there. But I had all this done again, like I said, Saturday. And then so I wanted to go out and play around across the street. But they were calling for the weather and rain. And then again, with all the poplar seeds on the ground, I would have looked like a snowman when I got off the ground. I didn't feel like rolling around and stuff. And then I didn't want it to start raining because it was cloudy all day and it kept coming and going like it was going to rain. And it finally did rain, but it was late in the evening. By the time I usually come out here around 6 p.m. to make these videos, it was already raining pretty good for a couple hours at that point. So, and it just quit today. So everything's nice and wet out there now. Okay, an update on the airfield. I finally ended up texting my friend to ask him, what's going on, what's the holdup. And he comes back and he says, well, I think one of the problems he has is he filled his hangar up with a bunch of stuff from his house, and his son brought some stuff over and filled it all up. He doesn't physically have the room. In order to make room, he's going to have to take stuff out, move it somewhere else probably, and put it in storage, and I doubt he's wanting to do that. And then he is actually, he was I think the nephew of the original owner of that property, and his name was John, and he passed away a few years ago. He was like 93 or 94, I think, when he passed. But he was the original owner, and he let Dick basically build that airstrip, because John had a small airstrip at his own house, which was south of this place. So he ended up moving everything up into the hangar after Dick built his hangar. So it was kind of a family-owned business. Now the grandson of the original owner, John, had just built his new hangar out there, and this big beautiful hangar, electric and everything, all insulated now, TV set, and a little lounge area and everything. He bought some airplanes and got them out there, so now they've kind of taken over the control of the airstrip now. It's a family affair. And so, long story short, they don't want to bring anybody else in there. They're just going to more or less keep it a family affair. They don't want probably any outsiders in there just to draw attention or something. I don't know, but either way, I'm not going to be able to use this airstrip, which is a damn shame, because it's only 4 miles from my house. Now the next options I got would be Erie International Airport is the next airport, but it's a tower controlled airstrip. Nice thing is you don't have to, it doesn't require a transponder in and out of there, which this airplane won't have and will probably never have. I looked up transponders, and they're like $3 grand, and it ain't worth putting one of those in this airplane. Plus I don't have any room for it. But last case scenario is maybe I'll try to get in there, but another issue they have is you got to make sure you have insurance on the aircraft. But if there's any places even available, because that's the problem here in Pennsylvania is hangar space. Nobody seems to have any. So my other option might be Meadville Airport, which is south of here, but it's like 30 miles by air, and you're talking 45-minute drive to get there every time. But it's a nice paved runway, uncontrolled tower. Next weekend, I believe, they usually every Father's Day in June, which is this coming Sunday, the 18th, they always have an EAA chapter fly-in down there. And I always used to take my gyrocopter down there and fly, and then when I had my CGS Hawk, I flew that down there. So it's always a really good turnout there. Rain or shine, and then they have pancake breakfast, and then they serve lunch and everything, and it's an all-day event. So I'm going to go down there next Sunday if they're having it like they usually do. They always do. But I got to verify that it's next Sunday, and I want to see if I can talk to some of the members down there, see if anybody's got any hangar space, if they know of any hangar space available down there. So that's a nice airfield. I really would like to be down there just because it is a nice long paved runway, and the taxiways are all paved, so it's a beautiful place. It's better than the grass strip, but the grass strip's a little more forgiving on rolling, but it's a little rougher with the wheels catching, but the paved runways will give you less rolling resistance, so it'll accelerate quicker. So you'll be a little safer there, but either way you got to learn to do both ways. So now I have no idea when I'm going to be able to get this damn thing out to the airstrip, or any airport in that matter. If they can't have any space, then I'm really getting to the point where there's not much around here. There's a few private airstrips around, again, but everything is just so far away. And that's where the problem comes in of, driving back and forth. When you got to drive that kind of distance to go to the airport, you get really reluctant on it, especially if you just want to go up. The night's nice, there's a really nice night out, you just want to go to the airfield, take off, fly around for a half hour and come back. I mean, you're going to spend more than an hour just down and back, hour and a half just to go flying for a little bit before sunset. So, hate it, folks. I'm sure you're probably disappointed as I am. Unless something changes and the guys have a change of heart and let me get in there. But I think they're a little afraid of the FAA coming around, because the FAA's got to come and look at this plane. But the guy's just the inspector. He's just looking to finish the certification on it. He's not there to pick at anybody's aircrafts. So, I mean, everyone here is FAA. They get scared, and so I don't know what their deal is. The problem is, I'm friends with both these guys real well, but I think and then they're doing other stuff out at that airstrip that I guess they just don't want outsiders coming around in. I can imagine it might just boil down to an insurance thing. If something happens, will they be liable? Who knows? They didn't say it, but it was a short, brief text message I got back. It says, well, they're not wanting to do that right now. So, but I'll keep looking. Next weekend I'll get down to Meadville's, fly in, and there's a lot of their members, show up for that, and I'll take and talk to them and see if they know if there's any space down there, because they have a lot of T hangars. They have some bigger hangars, and they got what used to be the flight school up here in Erie down there now too, which I do know the guy who runs that, so maybe he can help me out too. One of them. So. But again, it's just a distance thing. Meadville's not far, but if you got to run down there, I'm going to say it's a good 45-minute drive from here. And that's one thing I do not want to do, is just travel these long distances just to, plus the area and international airport, working with the ground and tower, trying to go out and just do taxi tests somewhere on the airport and, not getting away. There's not very many flights. There's only 2 or 3 flights a day that come in and out of that place for the commercial airlines, and the rest is corporate jets, private commuters, and then the EAA guys that have their own personal aircraft up there. But I just don't want to be out there fussing around with talking to somebody that, when I'm trying to concentrate on what I'm doing here and be interrupted by the tower or ground all the time. I'd rather do it somewhere where I don't have any pressure with getting out of the way of anything. So. Okay, folks, that's going to have to do it for this week. Sorry I didn't get this up yesterday, but like I said, the rain came in, the weather was crappy, and now it feels like it's about 60 degrees out here after all this rain. We've definitely needed the rain, there's no doubt about it. But as far as this is concerned, this was the last thing to make for the airplane. They're done. I just can't fit them to the wings until all the wings are attached, and then I can go in there, get the screws, pilot hole, drill some pilot holes, and then put the screws in, and they'll be done. These come off with the wings, so I can't put them on until the wings are on. So I'd like to get that done here, so I don't have to do it at the airport wherever I go. So when I go to the airport, it's ready to go. Just put the wings on, put this on there, button everything up, and take her out and start running it. So, as far as this last video concerned, it looks like YouTube got friendly again and decided to recommend my video if anybody's looked at it lately. I looked at it this morning. It was at 105,000 views in a week, which is unheard of, My best video I did was when this was in the driveway. When I was doing weight and balance, I had the wings on it, so I did a walk around, and in that video, it's probably up to close to 500,000 views, and I'm pushing almost 500 comments in there, and it's just, kind of tough to keep up with the comments, because some of the comments are comments to comments, and even when you filter by the newest, those comments on comments don't show up. You got to scroll down through and find all the old comments and look at every one to see what you're missing, because YouTube doesn't send you a link to every single comment you get. They only give you maybe 10% of what comes in. I probably haven't got 100 comments or less from them, notifications, probably not even that, probably 50 notifications, 50 to 100 notifications that I got comments, but there's, again, almost 500 comments. So, so to recap, everything's painted, ready to go. Brakes have been reworked, and I'm going to buy some new cylinders and replace the master cylinders, and I think that's about the best I can do for it. It's not going to get any better than that. But I was surprised that I rebuilt those cylinders that are in here years ago, and I didn't remember. I had to dig out some of the old parts to find out what it was, and it turns out they're 1-inch diameter pistons in it, and that is just way too big for this. I mean, you're talking about, that's like 3 times the surface area of a 1-inch piston versus a 5/8" piston, even though it's not even half the diameter. The ratio of surface area is a big difference. It's only maybe a third. So with a smaller piston, you get less volume moved, meaning you have to push the pedal farther to get the same amount of volume moved. Even though there's really no volume to move in this airplane, because there's stainless nylon lines from the pedal to the floor, and then from the floor out to the wing is all metal hard line, and then from the wing down is nylon braided tube, not nylon. I got braided stainless air, so nothing can give, nothing expands like a rubber hose does. So there's not much there to absorb the pressure. So when you push on the pedals, you're literally applying the brakes instantly. So, all right, folks, that's going to do her. Appreciate everybody taking time to watch the videos, and thank you everyone that's looked at the last one and had tons of questions. I can tell there's a lot of new folks there. What kind of engine you got? It's a Subaru Legacy 2.2 liter, all fuel injected with a reduction gearbox on it. And no, it is not an RC model. This is not an RC model. This is 1/2 scale. So, and it's built by, the plans are drawn by War Aircraft Replicas. This was a plans-built plane from a set of blueprints. I did not design this airplane. I modified it, but I did not design it. So, just to answer some of those common questions. All right, folks, as always, feel free to leave any comments, questions, concerns, and I'll answer them as they come through. I hope that I get this thing out next weekend and give you guys a show of the taxiing around with the wings on this time. And I'll hook up the ailerons and flaps so everything will look good. And it'll basically be in flying condition when next time you see it. So, all right, thanks again for taking time to watch your videos. Thanks for all the likes and the subscriptions. You know, I was up to 18,000 subs again. So, all right, folks, stay in touch. I'll try and get this back to you next weekend, and hopefully I'll have some good news on. All right, sorry, I guess it's time to go. This is Down and Gone Out.